September 14th, 2001. 3 days after the towers fell, America was terrified, angry, ready for action. Congress gathered to vote on something simple: authorization to use military force. Against who? The people who planned September 11th? For how long? As long as necessary, probably 90 days, maybe 6 months. The vote? 98-0 in the Senate, 420-1 in the House. 60 words, 1 page, the most powerful blank check in American history, because 25 years later, we're still using it. Not just in Afghanistan, not just against Al-Qaeda, in countries that didn't exist when it was written, against groups that weren't born yet. Let's read it, all 60 words. The President is authorized to use all necessary and appropriate force against those nations, organizations, or persons he determines planned, authorized, committed, or aided the terrorist attacks that occurred on September 11, 2001. Notice anything? Those nations, organizations, or persons he determines, not Congress, not the courts, not the UN. He determines. September 14, 2001. Congress handed the President unlimited military authority. No geographic limits, no time limits, no definition of who the enemy actually is. Just whoever the President says. It passed in hours. No debate, no amendments, no questions. Because it was 3 days after September 11th, and questioning anything looked like hesitation, and hesitation looked like weakness. And weakness? In September 2001? That looked like betrayal. One person voted no out of 535 members of Congress. One, Representative Barbara Lee, California. She stood on the House floor and said, "I am convinced that military action will not prevent further acts of international terrorism against the United States." She read the authorization, all 60 words, and she saw what no one else wanted to see. This wasn't a declaration of war. It was a blank check with no expiration date. The next day, she received death threats, hate mail, calls for her resignation. She was called a traitor, unpatriotic, un-American. Sound familiar? Same week, same pattern. Patriot Act, 99-1. Feingold alone, a UMF, 420-1. Lee alone. 45 days after September 11th, America passed 2 of the most sweeping expansions of government power in history. And 2 people out of 535 said no. October 2001, U.S. forces invade Afghanistan. That made sense. The Taliban harbored Al-Qaeda. This is what the AUMF was for. But then, March 2003, Iraq. The Bush administration argued Saddam Hussein is connected to terrorism. AUMF applies. There was no evidence Saddam was involved in September 11th, none. But the AUMF didn't say Al-Qaeda, it said those the President determines. So, Iraq, and then Yemen, Somalia, Libya, Syria, Pakistan, the Philippines. By 2011, the United States had used the 2001 AUMF to justify military action in at least 22 countries. Countries where Al-Qaeda, the group that attacked us on September 11th, didn't even exist. This is called mission creep. You authorize force for one thing. Then you realize this authorization is pretty flexible. Why ask for a new one? The Islamic State, a terrorist group that did not exist on September 11th, 2001. In fact, it didn't exist until 2013, 12 years after the AUMF. So when the U.S. started bombing ISIS in Syria and Iraq, Congress had a choice. Vote on a new authorization, specific to ISIS, debated, on the record, or just used the 2001 AUMF again. They chose the 2001 authorization, an authorization written to fight the people who attacked us on September 11th, used to fight a group that didn't exist yet when it was written. Think about that. A law written in 2001 used to justify war in 2014 against an enemy that wasn't born yet. Because once you authorize war, you don't need to authorize it again. 4 presidents, 2 parties, 25 years. All of them used the same authorization. George W. Bush, Afghanistan, Iraq, and beyond. Barack Obama, expanded drone strikes, Libya, Syria, ISIS. Donald Trump, continued operations in 7+ countries. Joe Biden, still active in Syria, Somalia, Yemen. Every president, when entering office, inherits this authorization. And every president uses it, not because they're warmongers, but because it's already there. The infrastructure exists, the legal framework exists, the precedent exists. Why go back to Congress? Why risk a debate? Why open it to questions? Just use the 2001 authorization. It's easier. And so, year after year, war becomes normal. Not something we decide, something that just continues. The AUMF was supposed to be temporary. It wasn't written with an expiration date, but everyone assumed once the threat is gone, we'll repeal it. Osama bin Laden killed. Mission accomplished, right? The AUMF stayed. U.S. withdraws from Afghanistan. 20-year war ends. Surely now we repeal it? The AUMF stayed. September 14th, 2001. 25 years ago, still active, still law, still being used. Because here's the thing about emergency powers. They're easy to grant, hard to take back, not because the government won't give them back, but because we forget to ask. So here's what I keep thinking about. In 2001, Congress gave the president authority to fight those responsible for September 11th. 25 years later, we're fighting groups that didn't exist, in countries that had nothing to do with it. And nobody voted for that expansion. There was no debate, no new authorization, no public decision. It just happened. Because once you say yes in a moment of fear, getting back to no is almost impossible. The Patriot Act was supposed to be temporary, still here. The AUMF was supposed to be specific. Now it's everywhere. Emergency powers, once granted, don't expire. They normalize. And here's the uncomfortable part. Most Americans don't even know we're at war in 7 countries right now. Ask someone on the street, is the U.S. currently at war? Most will say, I don't think so. That's how normalized it became. War isn't something we declare anymore. It's something that runs in the background, like infrastructure, like taxes, just there. September 2001, 45 days that changed everything. 2 documents, both passed in fear, both supposed to be temporary, both still active. The Patriot Act, the AUMF. They told us, just until we're safe. But safe is a moving target, and fear is a renewable resource. So my question for you is this. The next time there's an emergency, and there will be a next time, the next time someone says, we need extraordinary powers, just temporarily, ask one question. What happens when temporary never ends? Because September 14th, 2001, Congress approved a 90-day war. 25 years later, we're still fighting it in countries we didn't invade, against enemies we didn't name. And the authorization, still active, still law, still waiting for someone to ask, when does this end?